Hi everyone and welcome to your collective tarot guidance for the week of May the 2nd. Now before I begin the tarot part, I would just like to say that this week, regardless of what the cards say or what our intuition might say, is almost literally eclipsed by the eclipse season. So we had on the 29th of April, the 30th of April, sorry, the Taurus lunar solar eclipse, the partial solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus, to be more precise. So a very powerful new moon, which in itself, it kept us in a certain kind of preparation mode. It really excited our sense of anticipation because it took place so very close to Uranus, the planet of the future. So that is where we can anticipate things when Uranus is very active. And on the other hand, we also have another but total lunar eclipse taking place in Scorpio on the 15th or 16th of May, depending on which side of the planet you're on. And this is a really eclipsing period in the sense that we may feel a little bit blind, we may feel a little bit unanchored, we may feel a little bit almost forcefully detached. And at the same time, this is where we might not even need detachment because there is so very much going on in our lives. It is actually time for action. Things are happening, people are connecting, there is dynamism and movement, but we might feel that we cannot immerse into that. And for a lot of people, this is even frustrating because maybe in 2021, especially towards the end, we might have wished for this dynamism to things finally get moving and starting and the busy and stuff like that with all our souls. And now that we have it, and it's even external, as in it is taking place regardless of we're present fully or not, so it takes place even without us, which might trigger for some of us, because there are certain people very sensitive to this sensation, feeling of being left out. That is really heavily triggered in this period if you are vulnerable to that. And all of this duality, as in there is action, there is a dynamism, this is the time to focus and be immersed into whatever we're creating, doing, wanting, manifesting. And at the same time we feel a very strong detachment. And perhaps this is the moment when being at the eagle's perch and seeing the world as an observer, as an outsider, as objectively as possible, actually makes the situation 10 times more uncomfortable, because right now we might need the opposite to be immersed into it. But this period between the eclipses keeps us in this state of, how should I say, readiness. So even if the astrology of the week is fantastic, it is very action oriented, we might not be feeling it that way at all. All we might be feeling is some weirdness, or this is also period Scorpio eclipse, and Pluto retrograde just now, so stationary, and Neptune and Jupiter and Venus almost energetic in Pisces. This is also a period when the occult, when the paranormal and hauntings and everything, the weirdness of the spiritual world is starting to grow and manifest. And there are going to be so very many documentaries about certain cases, situations, hauntings, possessions, paranormal cases, stories that will take place this year and maybe even next year. But this year will be a heavily concentrated moment of the occult, of the paranormal. So you can expect that all good stories, all good horror stories, the heavy stuff, when there's also documented on film, the paranormal takes place before your very eyes. This is definitely the period, especially as we start heading into the summer. So in a couple of weeks, in a few months, because it will also last in the autumn, because the summer is more like a concentrated activity which is more random, and the autumn is gonna be like when it serves the purpose, when it shows itself for real. Of course, this isn't meant to be scary or anything. This is basically a moment. Astrology just shows us the time, what's the clock, when the paranormal has to play out like this, because as I said, stories are gonna be born out of this, a lot of tales and practices, because this will also call the curious and also the practitioners to be there and do their stuff. So this is actually a really good and prosperous period for anything like this. And you might say, okay Zen, but isn't this the battle between good and evil, and especially with the eclipses and Scorpio and stuff like that? Yes, but that's how spiritualists, future, let's say, exorcists, future paranormal investigators, parapsychologists learn that, like it or not, coincidentally they get involved into this case and that case, and it's the biggest case of their lives, and it teaches them, and you know how things work. So this is definitely that period. So there's a lot to be excited for later on in the year. But right now, let's see what we can expect. So let me just adjust the camera a bit. So what we can expect this week. So we have the Wheel of Fortune reversed. Well, Jupiter is an erratic and the Wheel of Fortune is Jupiter. And when Jupiter is an erratic, the shadow side of Jupiter, for some people their fears will literally come to life before their very eyes. While for other people, luck, the usual, the average flow of luck, that which you are kind of used to, the way your luck has been the past 6 years, well, that might change. So basically, if you had blind luck everywhere you went the last 6 years, well, that doesn't represent that you will have misfortune, but it will be a period when that lucky opportunity ceases, and it will be a more lucrative time for you. While for other people who had like very little lucky opportunities, and by luck I don't mean money really, synchronicities, getting connected when things are easy for you, when the universe facilitates something, when you're offered something which you might think, why did I even deserve this, because this is too good to be true. Those people will find themselves where their luck might be turning on, switching on, changing drastically. And even if it's not for a very long time, luck is luck. Sometimes just one moment is all you need and all your life is fixed. So I do hope that for a lot of us, that is what this Wheel of Fortune is going to represent. Because collectively, well, Jupiter ultimately is the planet of justice and courts of justice, the philosophical side of law, legal system, and justice. So Jupiter is, especially in its, daytime of Sagittarius, very linked to anything that has to do with judicial systems, and those who work in it, the professionals. And now we have the Two of Pentacles. And the Two of Pentacles with the Wheel of Fortune reversed. Well, this does mean that the economy is going to be changing drastically very soon. And not just the economy, but first, before even the economy changes, the value system changes. And this isn't the kind of value system change which depends on us. This is the instinctual type of value system which only depends on more of the unconscious part of us, or the animalistic, the reptilian part of us. And where I'm going with this is, there are certain moments in life when you liked a food, a fruit, a vegetable, a type of meat, a taste, and all of a sudden, something just happens within you and you can't stand it anymore. So, love and hate. This is how things sometimes drastically change, and it has no logical, rational explanation other than it's the instinct and the unconscious. And every time that happens to us, a value changed within us. We kind of got recalibrated to nature's rhythm. So, yes, a taste which served us, our body, our being, one specific time, well, that is not needed anymore and is going to be replaced. So the body rejects it. As a human being, as a rational human being, we might not necessarily understand why, but this is to exemplify that is exactly the value system change which doesn't depend on us that we can expect. And it is when the instincts change, it is when the flow of repulsions and attractions change, everything changes. And where I'm going with this is because, we don't have all the cards of the spread, but if you're a reader and you do it for a lot of time, especially for general readings, you already kind of into it where the universe is going with this. And yes, of course, the Two of Cups reversed. Two of Cups, love. Everything that we love. I just spoke about this. What we love is gonna drastically change within us, and this part of the transformation doesn't actually depend on us. So this is where the economy is going to change imminently after this period. And why? Well, we will crave other things, we will appreciate different things, we will fall in love with more simplistic, natural things. We will get an obsession for the human element and not the technological element. So this is a change that's gonna reflect in the world very soon, because depending on what we love, our behavior as consumers, as clients, as etc. will dramatically change. And if it's not rational, we don't even know this, and we're just guided by our likes, our cravings, etc. And we change the world passively through this. So this, what we find valuable changes materially, what we love changes, and this is also psychological, because this can also mean people. What kind of friends do we have? Some people had like a natural attraction to those who are in a certain social circle, like the outgoers, the business club, this club, that club. And if this is turned upside down in a second, in an instant, emotion, an erratic Jupiter, everything changes, even friendships. And when friendships change, transactions change, the way people support each other. So this spells a big moment of chaos, which reflects first of all internally. And now we have the Six of Wands reversed. An awakening of the heart. The Sun reversed. The Five of Swords reversed. The Three of Wands reversed. So for you guys, this is reversed. That's why I'm reversing it for myself. Well, this does reflect that in the world, the sun going down. This is where all of us, especially those who are grounded in reality, but the true kind of reality, know that hard times are truly, literally knocking at the door. And this is where we will get a lot of confirmations of this. Friends that you meet, people that you meet, total strangers who you meet this week will all speak the same language as you. Of course, symbolic in the sense that the principles, your concerns, your fears, but also that which gives you security, etc., like minded, like valued people. And even the opposites that you come across this week, those are coming as a completion. It's almost like the universe is preparing you, telling you, well, if you're not good at this and that, or if you don't have this and that, another person has, and connections. This is almost like being able to live and see how a new reality based on socially interwoven element is being created. So a thread is being, undone, and that very thread is taking a different pattern. And this will happen socially. So there is a lot of social activity this week in our individual lives as well, and in the world as well. In the world, well, this does reflect that people will stop supporting and starving certain businesses. This is the beginning of the crisis. The HR domain, not enough workers, not enough people to work. No one wants to work. No one wants to take the job. And that is because people had this Jupiter moment in 2020. And after, of course. Some, like myself, before. And that means that they made the judgment. My time equals my life, and what I do in this physical world, and money, job, security, whatever you offer me, can no longer compensate me. I'm really sorry. But that's okay, because, after all, we live in nature. I can grow everything that I need to survive. And that is work I'm willing to sacrifice for, because on one hand, I'm doing it with and in nature actually, so I'm part of nature, and on the other hand, it makes me healthy. So you know what I'm saying? The epiphany, the shock, the realization of what North Node in Taurus means, returning to the basics. And I'm not saying that everyone is feeling the need to return to nature, but everyone feels the need to go back to simplicity. Like even someone who doesn't like nature as much, because that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you, but you do like that friend who is very connected to nature and has all the best fruits and vegetables, and there's a kind of synergy and trade and sympathy and mutual help between the two of you. This is what I'm talking about. When the mind fails, when the emotion fails, when even the spirit fails to get its message across clearly, the instinct doesn't. The universe is alive in every part of us, and we are not a singular being. No one is just themselves, really. We are composed of layers and different parts of ourselves. And this is exactly the Five of Swords reversed. Regardless of how correctly you do something, if another part of you, another layer of you, if another function of you does not agree or is not ready, you will not experience success, because every single success requires alignment, and sometimes the alignment is definitely not astrological. It is just parts of your being. The mind to align with the emotional to align with the spiritual to align with the bodily, because ultimately one cannot serve the opposite. And when you're all parts of your being, for example, the chakra system, each chakra represents a function, each chakra represents a personal dimension that needs to be aligned, so function as nature intended them to function, for that person to be more or less stable, harmonious, and to go and do its job, if you know what I mean. All of us had this lesson in our lives one way or another, and we learned it. So this is where the world is changing, and we will see this week already clearly that there is no way going back. And a couple of words at least from an individual perspective. So I'll take these cards and see what the universe might be telling us individually. Three of Wands reversed. So this is reversed for you. Yeah, Ace of Wands, but this is upright. This is so beautiful, really, individually. Because, you know, the Ace of Cups reversed. The King of Cups reversed, and I have one here. Two of Swords reversed. This is pretty simple. No, this Three of Wands reversed, of course. This kind of means that in a certain way, all of us might be feeling right now that, yeah, we made a lot of progress and we lived miracles and blah blah blah. All of that which was kind of promised to us and everything that allured us to embodying that who we are today was, you know, true, but at the same time, all doors are still closed, you know, the Three of Wands. Where's the true perspective? Where's the true outlook? Because a lot of us are still feeling like prisoners in our lives, regardless of how far we went spiritually, mentally, emotionally, materially, in any way, shape, and form. But this is the Ace of Wands. This is the moment to take action. The only reason why you're not taking action yet is the Four of Cups. The universe is keeping you in, you know, the divine guidance also means to stop you, to block you for that perfect moment. And the Ace of Cups reversed. This is where the perfect moment is after you release something. There is something emotional that you still need to release. So this week might be a week of tears, a week of release, a week of forgiveness, a week of acceptance, a week of, you know, when you truly let out the pain and you feel so much better for a lot of people. And, you know, Two of Swords reversed. After this cleansing, this release happens, you will be very, very sure of your choice of what you want to do next. This is where you finally know what you're doing and who it is that you are. And that is the moment this Ace of Wands gets somewhere. That is when the universe is going to remove the forced blockage that it's keeping you in right now. And this blockage isn't the usual one. This is just a couple of days when you feel so very different, and I don't know why. This is just this because something is aligning for you. But what is still a surprise? This is where its story continued, and you have to tune in next episode into your own life to find out. So this is what the universe has to say for us for this week. Thank you so much for listening. All I can say is, always when we have or we are in a period between the eclipses, it is truly a time to just be yourself, contemplate, and if you can not do anything else because of the situation, even dreaming big is more than enough. So thank you again, thank you for listening. If you'd like to support me and my work and what I'm doing, you can donate in the PayPal link in the description below. With this being said, I wish everyone a blessed week. Until next time, bye for now.